Hello, I'm Kelly Foss. Welcome to my Drawing What You See and What You Don't workshop with Strathmore. This is lesson 1. It is drawing your hand. Your hand is your easiest and closest model. Not to say that drawing hands is easy, but I'm going to walk you through it. It becomes easier the more you do it. Normally, I would sit with my drawing pad in my lap and have my hand in a relaxed position and just draw from life. But for this exercise, I'm going to use a photograph that I took of my hand. Here it is. Beyond this lesson, I encourage you to take a photograph of your hand, draw it, and then eventually draw your hand from life. For this lesson, I'm going to be using a 9x12 Strathmore toned tan paper. My pencils are all Lyra pencils, a Rembrandt Art Design 6B. This is a Rembrandt white pastel. It's an extra dark carbon Rembrandt 2B and a Rembrandt Polycolor red pale geranium lake. Just using black, white, and red, also known as the crayons technique. Pardon my French. It translates to 3 chalks. Traditionally, you'd be using red, white, and black chalk to give the illusion of a full color, fleshy drawing. With this tan paper and these 3 colors, no matter what your skin tone, whether you're very pale like me or you have a beautiful dark complexion, with these 3 colors, we can achieve that. Next up, super important, a sharpener to keep your pencils sharp. Remember that throughout all of these lessons. I use this little shot glass to put my sharpenings in. And then a simple white eraser, and then my Princeton Hake brush. This is a 2-inch, really soft bristles, and you'll see how I use it once we get going. So let's get going.
Starting off, let's grab the red pencil, sharpen it, and jump right into the enveloping process. It's also called the block-in because, as you see, I'm using straight lines and being very blocky. I'm looking for those outside tilts and the general shape of our subject. I want to encourage you to pause often and allow yourself to draw at your own speed. I can see the flow, how the pinky slides right onto the back of the hand. Comparing the heights of the bends in the wrist. I'm starting to subdivide a little bit more. Mind you, I'm not drawing fingers yet. I'm looking at height comparisons and angles, like the height comparison of the fingers to each other. I know this hand isn't one giant block, but that's why we're keeping the lines light and loose. Continuing to correct angles, using straight lines, finding those tilts and negative space between the fingers. Oh, and did you think that I forgot this? Nope, I need it. It's for fogging out. Just a clean piece of tissue. Fogging out, as I call it, seasons the paper with whatever medium you're using, as well as loosens up your lines, so your brain can see your drawing a little bit better. As I'm drawing over my many sketchy lines, I'm becoming more decisive in making a more definite line. Look for simplified shapes, like maybe this thumb is a little duck looking up. I'm not thinking about drawing fingers, I'm thinking about drawing shapes and how they compare in size to each other and angle. As well as the negative space. I'm going to envision the knuckles and see how they line up with each other. People often imagine the back of the hand looking something like a square, mistakenly lining up their knuckles. But it's better to look at it sort of like a barn or a wonky house. Make sure you have a nice arching flow. And in case you're wondering, yes, I use permanent marker, and yes, I'm having a hard time getting it off. I make slight marks of anatomy points and then investigate them a little bit farther when I see that they line up properly. I chose this hand pose because I love how each finger is slightly overlapping each other. It gives a good feeling of dimension in the piece. I'm doing a little bit of point-to-point comparison. The separation of the pinky and ring finger is on a similar plane to the middle finger and the pointer finger, and then knowing that the top of the thumb is on a higher plane than them. These are all different points I can compare, as well as more obvious points like joint to joint. Remember to sharpen your pencils. And to pause the video whenever you want, to take a break, or simply to catch up. Okay, I'm happy with how this is going. Let's loosen it up with a nice fog out. And with the white eraser, I'm going to clean the light most facing planes of the fingers, as well as cleaning around the hand, leaving some of the red fog for the hand's shadow. And here comes my Princeton brush to sweep away those eraser peels. This can save our hands from getting dirty, our drawings from getting smudged, but most importantly, our paper from our hands' oils. With the red, I'm investigating the shadow shape on the back of the hand. Pale skin and soft light make for not many harsh shadows. There's not many shadows being cast here, but there are form shadows where the form of the hand or fingers are turning away from the light, so it's getting a little more shadowy on the left side. I'm just going to do a little bit of a fogging out of that deepness that I put down. And now switching over to my Carbon Extra Dark 2B pencil. I'm touching on little areas that I see as needing a little bit more definition, as well as shading in a little bit of shadow right here from the thumb, as well as right here between the fingers and on the side of the hand. We're going to do a lot of back and forth between pencils from now on, so get used to that. I'm just fogging out a little bit of that harshness and doing a little cleaning up with the white eraser. Sweep, sweep. Now on to Lyra's 6B graphite pencil. I'm using this to delicately express the shadow and re-express the outline. I'm going to switch over to the red to touch on some of the wrinkles and also warm the shadow, as well as a little bit of glazing on the skin. This is a very organic process. I don't go full force. You'll see I am building value and warmth, making sure everything is transitioning. I'm using the red not just as a color, but also as a value. Something that can make hands look kind of cartoony is when the outline is just bold all around and there's no weight difference in the line quality. So switching back to the 6B, I'm just kind of touching around in areas to do a selective outline. I'm not outlining the whole thing. I'm going to smudge a little bit of my scratchy moments with my tissue and clean up my paper around the hand, leaving the shadow that it's casting. Ooh, and this is what we've been waiting for, the white pastel. Here we go. I'm going to just scratch at the lightest moments that kind of have the highlights. And like everything else, this needs to build. I keep it really scratchy at first. Sometimes I like that, and sometimes I'll smooth it down. Just like a good song needs to have a crescendo, working with the light, we don't want to give the same light treatment to the whole form. One, that's not naturalistic, but two, that's also visually boring. So selectively, I am building the white in areas that I do see in the photo as being light most facing planes. As we've established light, let's use the 6B to push in a little bit more dark. Ooh, let's save that last knuckle with a touch of the eraser. Okay, back to the 6B to build soft shadow, then to the red to build the form on the wrist. Establishing that darkness, then I want the white to just be scattering light on the length of the wrist. Apply the 6B to areas that you feel like the red is getting a little too fiery. Take your time with this nice hard lead to make a smooth transition from areas of darkness to light. And then if those moments feel a little too cool or ashy, just touch them with the red. The white pastel, I continue to build on itself. Sometimes I'm using hatching, which is just parallel lines, or I'm just doing little scribbly moments. I want to lighten up this wrist a little bit more. My hatching can kind of take on the form of the wrist going around. I don't like how deep that dimple's getting on the wrist. I'm going to touch that up a bit. With the red, I'll help some more transition as well as glaze a little bit over that highlight, making a nice kind of bright pink. It's very nice to build a color on top of the white pencil. You need to try it. With the 6B, I'm going to add a little bit of value to the back of the hand. Since the way the hand is tilted up, it's not receiving as much light. And I'm going to smooth it out a little bit with the tissue and do a little bit of scratching with my eraser, a little bit of reductive drawing. This gives us a variety of textures on the surface. It's not all scratchy pencil work. There's also some smooth moments, some really cool moments, and some warm moments. And then the outline has a nice variety of line width. So I'm just going to sign it here. Do a little hand touch of my hand.
Okay, how'd you do? I would love to see photos. Post them in the chat. For about a month as these lessons are going live, I'm going to be active in the chat, answering questions. If you want your artworks critiqued, please say so. I love to see what you do. Thank you, Strathmore, for having me. I'm really excited to get into these next lessons. Lesson number 2 is drawing a statue. Lesson number 3, drawing with imagination. And lesson 4, which will be our final one, it's about adding interest to your art. And I can't wait to share all these ideas and drawing techniques with you. I'll see you soon. Bye.